teacher's CPD workshop is looking at both Othello and Macbeth and exploring the role of females within these two productions. The lyric production of Othello and Macbeth is really looking at the role of the women and how Shakespeare perceived women and where they were. We see in Othello where they don't have a lot of status, they don't tend to be in jobs, and they don't have a lot of power. We see that shift a lot within Macbeth, and we see Lady Macbeth, who is a real sort of influencer within the play. So we're just looking at what's happened within Shakespeare and what's happening now within the role of women and how we can kind of contemporise that. Exploring gender can be quite provocative, so what we've tried to do here is explore it in three different ways. First, looking at really stereotypical words, then looking about how these statements and lines are used within Shakespeare about what the women say about themselves and what the male characters say about the women, and then lastly looking at what their own individual interpretation of gender is.
So this workshop is going to explore the plays of Othello and Macbeth, predominantly looking at the female roles within those two plays. The one thing that is really, really useful in this workshop is that you try not to censor your own opinions and that you kind of use your instincts about whatever we're talking about and whatever the exercises bring up. To begin with, I just wanted to have a quick check-in. So I'd like to go around the group, and I'd like you to, don't freak out, just come up with 3 words to describe yourself. Now that's almost an impossible task. You are complex people, okay? But just now, in this moment, if you had to pick 3 words, what would they be? So I, for example, might say dad, I might say creative, and I might say warrior, okay? That's warrior, not warrior. But, so 3 words that you think maybe best describe you at this moment in time. So I'm going to start with you. 3 words, share with the group.
Okay, energy, truth, bold.
Funny, attractive, yeah, and opinionated.
Friendly, overthinker, and fun.
Honest, mixed, and jumpy.
Energetic, hyper, same thing, and spontaneous.
I would say also an overthinker, an older sister, and resourceful.
I'd say I'm determined, open, and curious.
Creative, niche, and young.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those. It's so simple, yeah. It's actually quite a hard task to just share 3 simple words because we're constantly aware of what people think, what people judge about those words. And as I said before, you are complex people. It's almost impossible to sum yourself up in 3 words. There's a million other words that you could use to describe yourselves. What I think is really, really interesting is the fact that are those words necessarily the same that other people would describe you? It's always that fascinating when someone says, I'm funny, and you kind of think, oh, well, I don't know if everyone would agree with that necessarily. So it's interesting what we put forward and what we choose to put forward and share with people. I'd like you to just come over here. We've set a whole load of words up on the wall here. If you just come round and just gather round. And I want you to just have a little think. These are obviously all quite, strong, powerful words that give us immediate kind of thoughts and resonances. What I would like you to do is to just have a little look at them and see which ones you feel speak to you of a female. Don't censor, don't overthink it. This isn't necessarily your personal opinion, but just which do you feel traditionally kind of resonate with you as thinking, this lends itself to the notion of female or a female character. Just take 30 seconds, have a little look at them, and then if there's one that you think, yeah, okay, that either resonates with me or I think, okay, that's definitely got something as to why I believe that, and just come and take it off the wall for us and come and stand back in the space. Amazing. Let's just regather around here. Fantastic. Just have a little look at what people have picked. And again, I'm really interested in your first impressions, your instincts. You know, the danger here is that we kind of try and give answers that we think we want to hear or that we should say. And this isn't necessarily your opinion. I'm interested in, you know, what society puts onto these things, what we're kind of given a lot of the time. So if we just go round, I guess I'm interested in why you picked this, and whether or not it's a stereotype, perhaps. So that's okay, but let's talk about that. So why that one?
I immediately link being submissive to being a wife, which I feel like in society is a big responsibility for women, and it resonates with me myself because I would like to be submissive to when I have a husband. So I don't necessarily link it to completely being negative. I feel like husbands should be submissive to their wives and wives should be submissive to their husbands.
Okay, and you think this is still very relevant today then?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
Great, fantastic. What about this one? Thoughtful. Why?
I picked thoughtful because I think that women traditionally are expected to be thoughtful. And when they're not thoughtful, then they're often shamed for it because you're supposed to listen to me and you're supposed to listen to what I have to say. You can't not do that because if you don't, then how are you the right woman?
Okay. Well, and where does that come from, do you think?
I think, it might come from a lot of texts that I've read and also the traditional expectations of ethnic people and ethnic families and what they want a woman of their family to look like or to be like.
Okay, amazing.
I chose vain because I think quite often a typical idea of a woman is someone who, you know, spends a lot of time thinking about her makeup or her hair and how she dresses, which a lot of girls do and it's absolutely fine to, but a lot of people don't, and I think this is just put on girls. It's like, oh, girls, all they want to do is talk about clothes and go shopping, and that's quite a strong idea that people have.
And do you think this is more relevant now or less relevant? Is that changing
I think
or is that?
People realise more now that guys are also thinking about clothes and how they dress and how they appear. So it's sort of more normalised now, but you know, it's still there.
Great. What have we got? Whiny. Wow. Okay. Provocative. I like it. Why whiny?
I don't know. I mean, when I saw the word, it was one of them words. I saw a lot of words that kind of struck female in my mind, but I think this is kind of one of the ones where it just only seemed like a female thing and not really like a male thing as well, if you know what I mean.
I admire your honesty that word struck something in you, and it's fascinating where that's come from. That has not come from nowhere, that has come from somewhere, and that is in your head. Yes, Leslie.
I picked protective, mainly because obviously when I think of something like that, I see obviously a baby, and then that's her child, and obviously she wants to protect that with, like, she'll essentially give her life for the baby. In most cases, obviously there's some rare cases where that stuff doesn't happen, but protective. But obviously not only just protective of the child, protective of like the house, her man, everything comes with it and stuff. So,
Okay, which kind of links back slightly to what you were talking about here.
So I picked emotional because certainly historically women were perceived to be more emotional and consequently were maybe not considered for the same jobs as men because they weren't emotionally capable. But equally, I think it's a really, really interesting thing to consider in terms of gender currently and the way and sort of the very contemporary focus on male mental health. And in fact, to be emotional probably isn't a just female thing, but women are more inclined to talk about it. Okay. So that's it's not so much something that I identify as purely female, and that's why I picked it.
Great. Beautiful.
I picked strong because mainly in like my family and my upbringing, I've been surrounded by like a lot of strong boss women, you know? And also I feel like today women are proving that we can be strong, and there's, you know, the adverts, you know, what's it, that women can also do it or something, those sports adverts, I really love that. But I just feel like, you know, it's a perfect, you know, women are strong and we are, basically that's it, yeah.
I'm fascinated that you're talking, I'm fascinated you're talking about now though. Like, would you say this is a movement that's now?
I feel like it's,
definitely.
You know,
we're talking about Shakespeare plays. Is this something that you
there's
changed, or do you think that is something that?
Well, I feel like something, it's nowadays we're proving women are strong.
So there is that objective to prove it. Lovely.
I went with self-conscious. I mean, it's kind of a two-way street, I guess. In films, the woman's always beautiful. She's always sort of the romantic character, but then it's also linking in with vanity and stuff. It's all, you know, makeup and things. Women all want to be beautiful. It's sort of like the goal, and it's kind of a goal you'll never reach kind of thing. And it's all about beauty's in the eye of the beholder and things like that.
Great, amazing. So once again, you know, thank you. We're just picking some words. We can see the power of single words. So I want us to start thinking about this because we're going to be looking at Shakespeare plays, you know, and the first thing people think about with Shakespeare is the words quite often. So in a minute, we're going to kind of start to just delve in a little bit more. You know, a lot of this stuff is what is put on by society, historically. It's there. But now people are starting to challenge that. And we want to have a little look at where that sits within these plays of Othello and Macbeth. So these are just some single lines that we've taken. These are what men say about women within the play, and both plays. And these ones are what women say about themselves, okay? So if I just give these to you and these to you, what I'd like you to do in a sec is just to get into a small group, just kind of share them out and maybe read them aloud, and then just have a little start to think about what it might mean, and I guess what comes out of it in terms of now we're thinking about the time that these plays were written. What sense do you get of the perceptions of female and gender roles in the plays and at that time? Does that make sense? Amazing, okay, fantastic. So if we make one small group over here, one group over there, we'll just give you a couple of minutes to have a little think about that.
She haunts me in every place. Relatable. I'm joking.
She haunts me in every place. Could be a compliment.
Yeah.
Like she's on her mind. She's on his
Haunts
mind
is a
constantly.
pretty negative word, isn't it?
But that's the
go
thing.
back
So
to
it's
semantics.
despite she's so enticing.
I want to see the positive in some of these, but like haunts me in every place. I just felt like she's a nag, man.
But
Like,
to me, there's also a bit of a sexual aspect to that.
Yeah.
So there could be sort of the compliment, but it's like you can't help have a negative within the
But
compliment.
again, it's interesting because one of the other ones as well has got a perception of sexual, as in whore. You know, again, the role of the woman is. Have a little think about it. Just one more minute. What feedback? Show me. What have we got?
You're a true and honest wife. Could you change the word wife with husband?
Your husband, my lady.
I mean, of course you could.
Yeah, you should.
You should be able.
You should be able to.
Yeah. Again, we're thinking about this. We're thinking about at this time, not now what we think. I'm interested in exactly what we.
Yeah, probably not with that one. But then we was kind of surprised. Not really surprised, but we were just like, oh, she said that to someone.
Okay.
Yeah, I was quite shocked.
Okay, and this one, unsex me here. What does unsex me mean?
Make me not a woman.
Make me not a woman.
Yeah, strip her of her woman quality.
At first, I thought it was make me not a woman or a man. I thought it was like make her an offer.
Yeah.
When she said like she shouldn't be feeling this kind of power, like that kind of power for a man, then I was like, oh, interesting.
Nice. Okay, guys, let's just bring this back round because I just want to share these. It's really interesting. If you each just take one and then just come and stand back in the space for me.
Oh, we have to take one?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, or just bring them back so that we can hear them. Great. Let's, first of all, can we just read out the lines? So can we just hear these ones first? So these are, just remind me, these are what women said about themselves, okay, or other women in the play. So let's just hear these, and again, go with your instincts. What does it make you think of? Don't hold back that. If it makes you feel really cross, then allow that to come in. If it makes you laugh, then again, entertain that because it's interesting for us to talk about that truth. Yes?
So let husbands know their wives have sense like them.
Great. Who actually says that line?
Amelia.
Amelia, okay. So from Othello. Fantastic. Go on, sorry, carry on.
So it's almost like this female empowerment kind of thing, like where it's like, we're smart like them too. But then we were kind of discussing, maybe her tone or the way that she might have said it. Is it belief or is she mocking? Is she being serious? But our immediate minds as women was, oh wow, like female empowerment, like she's up for it.
Great.
So.
Okay, great.
I
see.
Your wife, my lord, your true and honest wife. That's Desdemona.
Wow, okay. Thoughts on it? What does it mean? What do we think is underneath?
We talked about her almost objectifying herself and putting all her sort of role into her husband, like she isn't really anything without him. You know, your wife, your true and honest wife. And then when she does say my lord, lord is giving him a higher status.
Right, and we were talking about this idea of like, you know, these words true and honest. We go back to the words that we were talking about earlier, you know, they are very much linked to this idea of being a wife. Let's quickly go through these.
Unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty, Lady Macbeth.
Okay, fantastic. What does it mean? What's she saying?
Well, I originally thought that unsex me here meant like strip me of like everything that makes me a woman, but don't give me anything that makes me a man anyway. Just like make me just a human with nothing to separate her from a man or a woman or something. But they were saying that, oh, it shows that she has like a kind of power, I guess.
I thought because it says like unsex me, so like I thought she was saying about how get rid of all her women qualities, because it then refers to like how she wants to be filled from the top to the bottom of direct cruelty. So like I feel like she is referring to the fact that because she's a woman, she can't have these like cruel, sinister feelings. So I feel like she wants to get rid of all of that and just become...
Yeah, and it's even because she wants it. She's asking for it, isn't she?
Yeah.
So for some reason, even though we think cruelty is not necessarily a positive thing, she is asking for it.
Exactly, yeah.
She wants it to, and which makes us think that potentially, I think you mentioned over there about status, so potentially she considers herself quite a low status.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, give us yours.
How foolish are our minds?
Wow.
Desdemona.
And that is Desdemona talking about all women in the play. Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's a bit sad, really, because that's what she's been brought up to think, that, you know, she's blaming herself on behalf of all women, that, you know, they're foolish and their opinions don't matter, and that it's their fault if something goes wrong because they're of low status.
Great.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. Hold on to all of this stuff, because we could talk all day. This is amazing.
Yeah.
We're kind of getting into the crux of it. As an overall collection of thought, guys, about how women are being portrayed by men in these plays, oh, sorry, by themselves, sorry. What would you say as an overriding? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it mixed, complex?
Negative.
Negative.
Because even with the let husbands know, they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, in their minds, we're low everywhere.
Okay.
The only time there is an element of positivity is when it's linked to being honest or being truthful. But that's almost belittling what it means to be honest and be truthful. That's almost a woman's complex to be like that, and men struggle to do that.
Let's quickly go down this side, okay? So this is what men say about... So we've heard what women say about women. Yeah. This is just some of the lines that men say about women. Okay, let's hear them.
Okay, so I've got, she was false as water by Othello, and it...
What does it mean?
So,
false as water. You had some lovely stuff that you're coming up with.
But we came up with a bit of water looks blue, but it's actually clear, and how it distorts the image, like the reflection.
Great. And this is Othello talking about Desdemona after he thinks that she's cheated, and she's saying it's not, I haven't done anything, and she's saying she's lied, she's as false as water. Yes.
She haunts me in every place. So, first of all, I thought that
there was an interesting little debate going on over here.
I thought it couldn't be anything other than a negative, because haunt is like a negative word. So it would make me think that while he is trying to do something positive, maybe a woman like nagging him or annoying him is coming back to his mind. So it's like, oh, she won't, like, even when we're not bickering, she's still driving me insane.
I feel like that's the power that women have over men that they don't necessarily know yet, because obviously for man, like, you know, if you proper like a girl or love a girl, that girl can do one thing, that man is broken. He can't, you're in his head constantly 24/7.
But actually, there are two sides to the story. And you say straight away, well, we feel exactly the same. And you
never know. You don't know what it's like.
And yet, of course, you can't say what they feel and you can't tell what they feel. But again, we're starting, this is complex. You know, we're kind of just going straight away with these words. Even I've led us down a thing of going negative or positive. It's not that simple, is it? Yeah? Very quickly, let's finish these. Yes?
If that the earth could teem with women's tears, each drop she falls would prove a crocodile. From Othello.
Great. Just a little bit of meaning. What do we think this might mean?
Crocodile tears are if someone's kind of putting it on. They're not real.
It's kind of similar. There's a falseness with
Yeah.
the water again, kind of lying. What sense do you get?
Certainly an insult, a clubbing together of all women, a perception of women as a whole. And again, I think there's sort of been a kind of similar to what you guys were just talking about women, men having this perception that women have a hold over them. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of been quite a strong undercurrent.
Okay, great.
I took you for that cunning whore of Venice by Othello, and I think it kind of sums up what everyone said of, I took you, it's him almost stating it like what I'm saying is the truth, I knew you were that. And then cunning whore, again, saying they have intentions with whatever they do. And then whore, it's like the lowest form of society again, women below men, and yeah, sums it up, I think.
Okay, great. These are just a few lines that we've plucked from the play, you know, and already it's engaging us in debate, like any good theatre should do, okay? I'd like to, just because there's a lot of opinion coming up already, okay? And that's great, that's kind of what we want. I just want to do a very quick exercise where we just have a little look at these opinions very fast. And I don't even want to discuss them too much. Again, be honest. This kind of honesty is really important within this process. So we've talked a little bit about where we think the females are positioned in society today and what that gives us. And we've just looked then at where females are positioned in the plays themselves, what they said about themselves and what some of the men said. I'm now interested to hear what you think, where you position yourself in this. And there's already some fantastic little looks here. And this is what, again, we're starting to have opinions of what other people are positioning themselves as well as ourselves. I want you to be honest. I want you to imagine there's a line here. We're going to say this end is male, okay? So that is male, and this end here is female, okay? And I'm going to give you some statements. Obviously, slightly provocative statements, but not too provocative. And I want you to position yourself where you think. So if you think that is a very male quality, or I identify that with being a male, then put yourself at this end. If you're not sure, you're going to be in the very middle and female down that end, okay? But try and make a choice and try and tune into what you honestly believe, and we can discuss it briefly. Okay, so the first one. Who is more likely to gossip, okay?
Wait, female.
Male, female, yeah? Okay, so this end is male, that end is female. Who is more likely to gossip? We're not going to judge each other on that. Like, be brave.
I think we are.
Okay, hold it there. 3 seconds, make your final choice. Anyone want to move?
No, let me just...
There's always one. There's always one, okay? We're talking about the era of Love Island that's just been on, and the fact that everyone's talking about that or other things. Tell me, why do you believe that that is a more female quality? That females are more likely to gossip?
I think what I kind of realized as soon as you said it, I wanted to go to the other side of the spectrum, but my instinct literally took me here, which I think maybe is almost a product of how society is, that you get to a stage where you start defining what women do and what men do. But I just had to follow my gut. My gut took me here, which is to the women.
And again, I think I'm really interested in that little voice that says I should.
Yeah.
Like, I should. You know, so much of this stuff I should. Don't fight it, okay? Okay, just because I don't want you to get comfortable, is everyone back on the purple line? Go. Who is more likely to be emotional? Go. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're talking to, I'm a big crier. I cry a lot. I cry at Disney films in particular. I'm terrible. Toy Story 3 ruined me. Why the middle?
I think it harks back to what I said at the beginning when we had the placards, because I'd actually picked emotional. And I think that with all the statements that you're giving, it's dictated by perception, and certainly time period can change a perception, but generally also other people's perceptions of people can change. So just because we might be of a similar emotional level, you might show your emotions more than me.
Okay.
But equally the other way
So
around.
it's underneath still, potentially. Last one. Whose role is it to provide? 5 seconds. Interesting. Why all here in the middle? Why?
I'm just thinking more in like a kind of, you know, parents kind of fashion, like the role of, you know, they're your parents is to, you know, provide you with the best kind of things they can. And me personally don't think it should be like, you know, I mean, I feel like the mother or the father could provide, you know, different things, or not even just mother and father, but like, you know, your friends, the people you surround yourself with. I don't feel like it is based on any gender. I feel like it's just a personal thing.
Lovely. Amazing. We could go on and on like this all day. You know, it would constantly split opinion. We'd constantly be kind of, this grey area here is probably going to be a place where we would hope a lot of us are at now. But I think what you were just saying about context, about needing that context, leads us perfectly into going, okay, this is where you're at now. And if we're going to start looking at Shakespeare today, what Shakespeare was fantastic at doing was, whether you like him or you don't like him, was at reflecting kind of society, the time of what was going on. However, if we're going to look at it now, and if you're going to play these roles and we're going to do it to a modern audience, we have to now also factor in this, which is what you think. Because Shakespeare was very good at talking to his audience. And if our audience is now this, and what we think, I'm really interested as to how we can read these characters, how we can shape these characters, not necessarily change them completely, but as we've seen, there's so much grey area in what we're talking about, that must apply to the characters too. So we're going to have a little play with these actual characters with a little bit more context and see what we can find and discover.
So in order to explore the female perspective, before we start looking at the text, we're going to use 2 exercises. The first one is about them creating statues and actually looking at the power dynamics between the 2 different characters through that. The second is using improvisation and giving them very short lines where they need to explore, once again, the role of those females within those situations.
So we've spent a bit of time looking at words and the power of words and how much we read into them, the stories they give, both in the context of the plays and what you yourselves kind of started to bring. I want to start to explore these stories a little bit more as we talked about, but I want to start to do that physically instead. So can I have 2 volunteers for me, 2 people? If you just take a step forward, perfect. I'm going to ask you in a second to strike a frozen image, a still picture, okay? And there's something really nice about a frozen image, that it doesn't have to be like this. Again, it could almost just be a moment that's been paused. So don't feel that it has to be the biggest thing you've ever done, but also make a nice, bold choice, if that's not slightly contradictory. I'd like you to make an image of strength. To be what it means to be strong. And I'd like you to make an image of weakness or what it means to be weak. Don't overthink that. I can see my brain already would be like, oh my God, what should I do, okay? Just again, don't think about it. Now I'm going to say you've got 5 seconds. If the rest of you just come round and make sure you can have a little look at these. Go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. If I just gave you a scale of 1 to 10, if I said that you're now at a 5, what happens if I turn these up to an 8? Just show me that for a second. Lovely. Really nice. And you guys start to think about what you see. What are our observations straight away? Anything we notice about these pictures?
Timid.
Timid over here. Okay, so it's like, go on, explain to me more. What do you mean by that? Timid?
Timid in personality, in like literal size, and
how much space she's taking up.
Yeah.
Kind of
closed
literally.
in.
Great, okay, nice. This is really nice. Just the pure physical qualities, yes.
It's like she's become so small that she's almost not there.
Fantastic. So she literally shrunk
Yeah,
away.
whereas she is taking up a lot more space, especially because of how straight she is and how she's looking straight forward. Her chin is up, her shoulders are back, just taking up space in the room.
Lovely.
Also, the position of their hands. With your hands in front of you, you're more closed, you're more protecting yourself. With your arms behind your back, you know, you're opening yourself, you're
Lovely.
you know, ready for what comes.
Really nice. Just take these up to a 10 for me. Go. Don't feel you have to do anything too big, just nice. Really nice. Already, once we start to add story, as we keep banging on about context, these things start to become alive. So these images are really lovely on their own, but again, as we talked about, they lack context. We don't know who they are, why they're weak. Let's put 2 more people in. So you 2 are naturally there, quite beautifully waiting. Maddie, if I could put you over in that scene, and if you come into this scene, just relax, both of you, for a sec, so come out of those positions. Just going to give you 5 seconds now to make an image together, so 2 people, some sort of relationship, could be friends, could be lovers, could be that they barely know each other, and this time I want to see you be strong. Yeah, whatever that means. So, but now that strength is in relation to someone else, okay? And I want to see your weakness in relation to someone else. Does that make sense? Okay, go. Okay. 5,
you won't be looking down
4,
and I'm
3,
with you.
2,
I'm ignoring.
1. Thoughts straight away? What do we see? What do we notice?
Support. I see her supporting this person that I think she does care about. There seems to be a connection in terms of I care about this person that I'm holding.
And do you read that as a strength?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a strength in the position to be able to help someone else. That's lovely. And there's very, very simple, just the lack of eye contact, isn't there? Which is really powerful. We read into that. Yeah.
When Millie was on her own, we looked at her as the weakness, obviously, because she was the only one there. But I think when you add the second person to it, the weakness is actually in Maddie, because it seems like Millie could do with some support, and Maddie not giving it to her kind of seems like a weakness, because why wouldn't you want like your friend or your like peer to be happy or to be like level-headed or something? And that kind of neglect is kind of like the weakness in her, even though she's taking more of a stronger stance.
Okay, really interesting. Yeah.
She's asking for help, but the other person is choosing not to, and they feel guilty about that, and that is why they're not making that eye contact. Whereas if they did make eye contact, it would be like they're putting the other person down. However, they're choosing not to make that eye contact because I feel like it looks like they feel guilty.
Okay, lovely, really nice. So again, what we first of all perceive as potentially strength, just hold those positions, sorry, for 1 more second. I know it's hard, arms are aching. Tell me, if I had to ask you, who do you think is the strongest person out of all of these characters? Emma. Okay, interesting. Just relax, you 2, for a sec. Thank you very much. Can I ask you, stay exactly where you are? If I ask you to just take a step back, yeah? Just take a step back, and now just look over there. Actually, turn your whole body and look over there. Is she as strong now?
No.
Why?
It looks like she's pleading, and she wants him, and he's not giving her anything.
Okay. Interesting. So she's in exactly the same physical position, but suddenly her strength's completely gone. Yeah.
I actually feel like she kind of does look just as strong.
Just as strong. Go on, tell me why.
Because it's what I see is that she is telling this other person that yes, like, you know, you can come, you can follow in me, and the other person's like, I'm not sure. Should I not? Can I? But Emma's like, yeah. You can.
Okay, lovely. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's really nice. If this guy is now strength, okay? I know we're using very big generalizations here for a second. Just relax. Thank you, Emma. If this is strong, just turn this up to a 10. Phil, show me that strength in you as a physical. Okay, lovely. Could I ask you to just go and stand just behind him? Could I ask you to move out of the picture just a slight bit? Yeah. Just take a few more steps back, Emma, for me. That's it. Right, go to the back. That's it, hold, perfect. Okay? and just, I want you to do whatever you feel you need to do to be the stronger person in this image. Okay, how do we feel about that? Is she stronger?
Yeah.
Why?
But now what? Sorry.
Because she's blocking him. You can't see him. She's got kind of like a sinister look on her face as well. Whereas he looks kind of strong, but I feel like if you've got that sinister like twitch to you kind of know something that they don't, and that therefore gives you power over the other person.
Lovely. Let's start thinking about the plays. Who could this be? If we start thinking about Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, we start thinking about Iago, Othello, Desdemona, who potentially might this represent? Yeah?
I was going to say that Othello is at the front thinking he's strong and powerful, and Iago is behind plotting, and, you know, he's sort of, you know, he's angry that Othello is in society and in his role in front of him. But yeah, I see him trying to get...
Is there a similarity with that with Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, potentially? Or is it different? Yeah.
I mean, just because it's a female and a male standing there, I see Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, but I don't know, maybe it's Macbeth standing in the front and Lady Macbeth whispering in his ear about telling him what to do.
Okay, you're nodding your head as in like, that's what I want. Okay, fantastic. If you were to give them one bit of direction, if you want to see that image, you can change one thing, what would you give them?
I'd move his head closer to his ear.
Okay, so if you just literally... Okay, fantastic. Lovely. So now this is potentially your Lady Macbeth and your Macbeth, yeah? Really lovely, just relax. Let's just go back to your two, the final image that you just had. What stories do we see here? What stories do we see here? Who could this be, potentially? What if I said that this is Iago and this is Amelia? Someone talk to me about that.
Get the handkerchief for me.
Yeah. And again, if you want something, there are many different ways of getting what you want. Yeah. And again, we've talked a lot about stereotypes, and we've talked a lot about how we perceive and what the role of a male or a female or strong or weak is, but it suddenly becomes really interesting. You know, if that is Iago, he's really manipulative now. Yeah. If he's capable of doing that and turning himself into there, good, really nice, relax, very good you two, beautiful. So, a very quick exercise, just thinking a little bit about physically how we place ourselves and how much we begin to read into it. But already we're seeing these roles within the play, we need context, but we can mess with it, we can push it. And that's what we want to do now. As we talked about before, if we're going to update Shakespeare, if we're going to explore it, we need to have that potential to push against these characters. And it might be that we think back to what was the traditional stereotype, perhaps, and maybe that's interesting. But before that, we've got to go there. We've got to go there and say, but who could that be? Where can we take that character, okay? Now we've explored the kind of just the very basic physical stories. Let's again get back to the text, okay? And back to these very specific stories, all right? Can I invite two people to come forward? Fantastic, okay. I'm going to give you a very simple line of text, okay? You have to do it. I can't, okay? That's all you're allowed to say to begin with, okay? Now, there's a million ways you can say that, okay? What I want you to do, just first of all, is just play out that very simple thing, but try to get what you want. So there is a version of this where I'm just speaking, yes? I can't. I want you to make it about the other person. So you're trying to literally, what do you think you're trying to do? Persuade her?
Persuade her that I can't do it?
Yeah, okay, so it's literally as simple as that. That is your objective, to persuade her I can't. And yours is to, you have to do it, is your line, yeah? So you've got to persuade him to do it, okay? So I want to see you try to get what you want. Go.
Okay. You have to do it.
I can't.
You have to do it.
I can't.
You have to do it.
I can't.
You have to do it.
10, 9.
You have to do it. You. have to do it.
4.
I can't.
You.
No, I can't.
You-
I can't.
You have to do
1.
it.
Beautiful. Hold it there. Lovely. Really nice. Good. Just take a little step back. It's fine. Just hold it there for 1 sec. So this is what we talk about intention. So your objective was very clear, to persuade the other person. You knew what you wanted, what you needed to do. How we do that is the tactics, our intentions, if you like. And that is a million options. So seduce might be one. What other options are there potentially? Threaten, yeah? We saw there potentially glimpses of that. What else could there be? Mock, lovely,
Goad.
really nice. Goad, yes? Plead, fantastic. Any others? Belittle, perhaps, shame, similar. Reject, amuse, okay? If this is Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, which one do you feel like you might land on, potentially? What do we feel is the strongest portrayal? What is the one that we think traditionally we would see from her?
Emasculating.
Belittling, yeah.
Okay, so there's something about belittling, doesn't it?
I thought she would kind of get her way by seducing and being like, you are like everything. You are the only one that can do this.
Okay, lovely. What happens if she's actually just really nice to him? Let's say you be genuinely, praising in him, concerned for him, to see if that works. If you want to say other things now, you can, but start with those 2 words, okay?
You have to do this.
I can't.
You have to.
I can't.
You have to do this. You're the only one that can. You know this. You have to do this.
I can't.
You have to.
No,
you
no,
know this.
No. Stop.
You're so strong and you can do this, You just do it.
I can't do it.
You just have to. You can do this. Come on.
I can't. Don't touch me.
Good. Hold it there. That was a very different portrayal of Lady Macbeth. We're often given the kind of evil, manipulative. There's a really beautiful moment where you just put your arms around him and held him there. Actual, almost genuine concern.
Yeah, I thought it was quite sinister.
Okay, and that's okay.
It's quite like, ooh.
Well, and that's the grey area that's potentially a lot more interesting for us as an audience to watch. Okay, let's invite 2 more people. Let's have you 2 come through. I'm going to give you 2 lines. I didn't do it. Admit you did it. Okay? Again, I know I keep going on and on about playing it hard, but the danger here is that we just say the lines. I'm as interested in you listening to each other and watching how your line lands, how it affects the other person, okay? So you've got to get her to admit, you've got to persuade him it wasn't you, all right? Go.
I didn't do it.
Admit you did it.
I didn't do it.
Admit you did it.
I didn't do it.
Admit you did
I didn't
it.
do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Admit you did it.
I didn't
Admit
do it. I
you did
didn't
it. Admit
do it.
you
I didn't
did it.
do it. I didn't do it.
Good, hold it there. Just take a step back for me. Really, really nice. What would we again say are the main overriding potential intentions, tactics that these 2 characters are using? What's she using?
Alicia's like changing it up.
Yeah.
She's sort of like telling him forcefully, and then she's pleading, and then she's just like having nothing to do with him, and yeah.
Go back to the very start, those kind of stereotypes. What do we associate with Desdemona? Is it that? Is it that forceful? Possibly not. I mean, you said at the start, can't stand her. Yeah? But this is a different side to her. Would you like this side of her? Yeah. I'm quite enjoying this side of her. She's a bit fierce. So now, free it up. Allow yourself to come in, and you can say other words, but play on that strong side. You are not going to take it. And we know the context. He's about to kill you in a minute. Okay?
Sorry.
So that is, that is the context. But let's just see a different version. Just for a second, let's see that fight. Ready? Go. Straight in, straight in.
Admit you did it.
I didn't do it.
Admit you did it.
I didn't
Admit
do
you
it.
did it.
Are you listening to me?
Admit
I didn't
that you
do
did it.
I'm your wife. Why would I even think of doing that? Do you think I would jeopardize us? For who? For what? Think. Yeah?
Admit you did it.
I didn't do
Admit
it.
you did it.
I didn't do it, and
Admit
it's
you
up to
did it.
you. It's up to you if you would like to believe me or not. But you need to get out of my space a little bit. I'll tell you that now.
Out of your space
Out
when
of
you're
my
all in
space.
his.
Oh, whose space? And did you see with your own eyes? Did you see it?
I might not have
Tell
seen,
me.
but
Tell
I
me.
know what I
would've-
know.
I would have loved to have seen it. Show me. Show me how I behaved. Show me how I did it. Because I didn't do it.
Beautiful. Hold it there.
Aye.
I don't think she did do it.
Nah, she did it. She did it. Trust me, she did it.
Well, but interestingly, she didn't do it. She didn't do it.
She's a sick liar.
Really nice, really nice. Good. What was really, really beautiful about that is that you lot were starting to use your instincts. You were genuinely putting yourself in those shoes, and once you've got an objective to hold you, you can just play it hard. Yeah? There are a million really interesting intentions there, and that's what I want to explore a little bit further. What we're going to now do, though, is we're going to start to introduce the text back in. Because with Shakespeare, the problem is there was amazing. It was free. You were going. There were these beautiful moments where you put your arms around him. Yeah, these little moments where you're in his face. Okay, but the text is tricky. Loaded full of stuff. But we have to just think now about how we find this energy and these intentions and objectives and marry that with the text.
By using those building blocks from the improvisation and from the statues that we've done earlier, they then go into the text already understanding those intentions, and they can pull those through so we see those when they're using the text. They have more of an understanding of what those scenes are about. We're also using ghosting, so then we can free up the actors so they don't have those scripts in their hands. I think especially when working with young people, it's incredibly important that they're not bound by that text, because then we start to lose the energy within the scenes and they become bound by what they're saying instead of what those intentions are, and we lose that kind of realness.
Let's have a look what it's like when we put the text back in then. So if I could just invite my Macbeth and Lady Macbeth just to take a step in for a second, okay? The issue that we have now is once we have the text in our hands, we're here. And we tend to lose all those lovely instincts, as we just said, those lovely choices you were making. So to free us up, we're going to introduce a technique that we call ghosting. So could I invite 2 ghosts into the space for me? And I'm actually going to give you the scripts, okay? Your job as ghosts is to literally feed them manageable chunks of the lines, okay? I want you two to stay very much in the scene, but it will give you the space and the time to hear the line and then make a very firm choice as to what your intention is and what you're going to play, okay? In this scene, you're trying to get him to kill the king, okay? And you've decided, I can't do it. So it's very much building on exactly what we were just doing before, okay? As ghosts, just say the lines clearly. You don't need to make a big choice, but you don't need to be completely robotic at the same time, okay? The last note I'm going to give you, there's obviously a bit of time when they're speaking. Try not to zone out. Try and use those moments as an opportunity to hear, to think, to look at each other, okay?
Yeah.
And everything that we've discussed up to this point about the different tactics, about how we portray women in this, I don't want you to overthink it, but keep testing and keep playing, okay? Let's try it.
How now? What news? He is almost sapped.
How now? What news? He's almost supped.
Why have you left the chamber?
Why have you left the chamber?
Have he asked for me?
Have he asked for me?
No, you not. He has?
No, you not. He has.
We will proceed no further in this business.
We will proceed no further in this business.
He hath honoured me of late,
He hath honoured me of late.
and I have bought golden opinions from all.
Good. I'm going to stop you. I want you to go back. Go back to that
Okay.
line. We will proceed no further in this business. Remember what we talked about the stakes? I don't believe you're winning that battle. We will proceed no further in this business. What does it mean?
We're not doing this no more.
Exactly. So now tell her that with that line. We were not doing it anymore. Tell
We're
her.
not doing this anymore.
No, work harder. Go.
We're not doing this anymore.
Good. Now give him the line.
We will proceed no further in this business.
We will proceed no further in this business.
Good.
He hath honoured me of late,
He hath honoured me of late.
and I have bought golden opinions
And I have but golden opinions
from all sorts of people,
from all sorts of people,
which would be worn now
which would be worn now.
In their newest gloss.
In the newest gloss.
Not cast aside so soon.
Not cast aside so gloom.
Was the hope drunk when you dressed yourself?
Was the hope drunk when you dressed yourself?
Hath it slept since?
Has it slept since?
And wakes it now to look so green and pale?
And wakes it now to look so green and so pale?
At what it did so freely?
And what it did so freely?
From this time such I count thy love.
From this time such I count thy love.
Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valour?
Art thou afeard
To be the same in thine own act
to be thine own in the same act
and valour,
and valour
as thou art in desire?
as thou art and desire?
Would thou have that
Would thou have that
which thou esteem,
which thou esteem,
the ornament of life?
the ornament of light?
Prithee, please.
Prithee, please.
I dare do all that may become a man.
I dare do all that is a man.
Okay, good. Hold it there. I don't believe you. Go back to that thing of objectives, right? So what are you saying? What are you saying? I dare do all that
I'm
become
a man.
I am a man.
Stop trying to test my manliness.
Tell her now. Do it in those words.
I'm a man. Stop
No,
trying
she
to
don't believe
come.
you. She don't. Shake your head. You don't believe it.
Stop trying to tell me that I'm not a man. I know all that I am. I'm a man.
Beautiful,
Anyone who tries to be anything else is
beautiful.
not a man.
Hold it there. Give him the line again, and with that energy, keep that.
I dare do all that may become a man.
I dare do all that may become a man.
Who dares do more is none.
Who dares do more is none.
What beast was then
What beast was then
that made you break this enterprise
that
to
made
me?
you break this enterprise to me?
When you durst do it,
When you durst do it,
then you are a man.
then you are a man.
Good. Lovely. Just go back. I want to hear those last couple of lines one more time. And last time you made that lovely choice. You made a choice where you turned your back. And you made a choice where you held him.
Yeah.
Let's just put that back in,
Right,
because that was a
sweet.
choice that you made.
Yeah.
I want to see that. Find
Okay.
a way to get it in there, okay? Let's just go from that same bit, that same line that you just gave him. Really nice.
Prithee, please.
Prithee, please.
I dare do all that may become a man.
I dare do all that may become a man.
Who dares do more is none.
Who dares do more is none.
What beast was then
What beast was then
that made you break this enterprise
that
to me?
made you break this enterprise to me?
When you durst do it,
When you durst do it,
then you are a man.
then you are a man.
Good. Hold it. Good.
supposed to turn all the way around.
Yeah, I said turn around, but it's fine. You didn't, and that's okay. That's lovely. You made a different choice. There was something really interesting in that. You almost went to hug him, and you couldn't. And again, I kind of go, that's interesting. I
Yeah,
quite
okay.
like it. So we started this workshop looking at single words and what we identified those words in terms of gender, female, male, strong, weak. And then we've started to explore it further, these characters. And what's been really, really wonderful to watch is the kind of choices that you've made, how we've sort of started to challenge some of those initial thoughts and some of those stereotypes. And just a final thing, I want us to just collect some of these thoughts. I want us to just pull it. On the wall, we've put 3 bits of paper with 3 of those central characters, Lady Macbeth, Amelia, and Desdemona. Now, it is important, there are other female characters. Obviously, there are the witches. There's also Bianca, Lady Macduff. There are others, which we haven't had time, but it would be just as interesting to explore some of those characters. And again, perhaps even more interesting in the way that the periphery characters, especially female characters, are portrayed and what that gives to the main female characters, whether it supports them or contradicts that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just to kind of come up here with a pen and let's get some more words down. Having now explored this, blown it apart, let's get as many words on these pages as we can, keeping it within the realms of the plays and what we have discussed and the potential of these characters, but also thinking big. So don't write something that's just completely nothing to do with it, but at the same time, challenge those initial preconceptions, okay? Go. And allow yourself to read each other's as well, because sometimes that might give you a new thought, a new idea that kind of bounces off of it. Okay, good. Let's just hold it there. Let's just take a step back, everyone, just so that we can see these. Really quickly, we're just going to pick a few of these out. We're not going to discuss them all, but it's interesting, just the mixture that we can see here. So I'm just going to start with Lady Macbeth. It's interesting because there are still a lot of those ones. Interestingly, people still went for those manipulative, seductive, sinister, sneaky. You know, they were all up there quite early, I noticed. And I, again, it's another time, but it's an interesting discussion. You know, does that come from having studied at school? Does it come from what we've been told about this person? But what I really like is that there's other sides to her. Things like desperate. I don't know who wrote Desperate. Who wrote Desperate? There's something really lovely about that. That takes on a whole new meaning, especially if you start to put some of these together. Things like vulnerable, complex, lonely, lacking, grieving. She is a much more interesting person. And that's a character that I think would be fascinating to play, but also, you know, now her decisions become much more, there's a lot more to base them on. Why she does things, as opposed to it just being, okay, because she is manipulative and nasty. Someone talked to me about Amelia. What did you write for Amelia? What's on there? Yeah.
Combative?
Combative.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, because I was thinking like, if she was, I don't know, I get a kind of sense that from what the words that are written on there, she's a bit soft and a bit of like, you can just like bull her over. But from the exercise that we did, even though it's not the actual text of the play, from the exercise we did of like, tell me why. It's like, you don't challenge someone unless you really have a side. You don't challenge someone for the fun of it, just being like, oh, break me down. You're like, no, tell me why, and then we'll move on. So it's like that combative nature of the argument.
And of course, we're storytellers.
Yeah.
So actually, if we know that she does get killed in the end, if she's weak all the way through and then gets killed, we're sort of expecting that.
Yeah.
But if she's combative, even for a moment, you change it, you challenge us, and then she dies. And that's interesting storytelling. Desdemona, hate her, don't you? Can't stand her, yeah? What did you write on it?
I put honest, actually.
Honest, it's a really nice word. Why?
Because I feel like that's what she does throughout the play. She's honest, and she always has to defend her honesty, which people shouldn't have to do. So she's
nice.
She is the victim, I guess.
And I think it's fantastic to have submissive and bold next to each other. Again, you know, you as an actor will make decisions. You might decide, no, she is just submissive in this role, and that's absolutely fine. But I'm fascinated in meeting this slightly bold Desdemona as well. Good, really nice. Let's just come back into the V for me for a second. Thank you for your honesty today, and thank you for kind of, you know, putting yourself out there and allowing ourselves to go with our kind of gut instincts. We talk about vulnerability of a performer, that's what it is. It's the ability to put yourself out there and not know exactly what comes next, like those impros were. This workshop is just touching upon the roles of women in these two plays. And if you just go back to the start and how we started, and looking at those words, and how clearly we were drawn towards a word like whiny, and how that huge amount, listen, out of context, all of those, that historical, social stuff that plays a part, and then our own personal stories that play a part. But let's keep challenging it. Let's keep challenging it as storytellers, as audience members, and as performers, because there's something really beautiful, and as we've talked about constantly through this workshop, Shakespeare wrote plays for audiences. He wrote plays to be relevant to the rich, to the poor, to all sorts. And you can only do that if you resonate with people. And the only way we're going to make Shakespeare resonate now is if it's honest and truthful and has characters that are this three-dimensional, particularly those female characters who perhaps need a little bit of help along the way, okay? Thank you very much, though, for your participation today. Great, good work, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
The way I've learned Shakespeare in the past is just really boring, like sitting in the class and stuff, but getting up and doing it has made me quite interested in Othello especially.
Well, I've learned that there's so many more aspects to, you know, a female role, you know. I feel like, especially with Lady Macbeth, because I, you know, played parts of her, that if we kind of, you know, we played with different, took away the sinister side from her and, you know, played the more vulnerable sides to her, and it kind of made a lot more sense that there's more to what makes a person. I
didn't really realise how deep into the characters it all went if you looked at it from a different perspective. So looking at it from that perspective has made me like kind of interested in it. I like that.